Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the TSG Bikecast. And welcome back to part two of my chat with young shredder and trail builder Baxter Maiwald. In this next episode, we're going to chat about his trail building career with dirt art and trailscapes, which included a wide variety of projects, most notably for Medina Bike Park in Tasmania. And we're also going to chat about racing overseas again, hanging out with Remy Morton and doing some racing and what his plans are for the future. Really hope you enjoyed the first episode. I got a lot of nice messages back about that episode. A lot of people saying they'd learned a lot more about Baxter that they didn't know before. So I'm glad I could bring you some extra information, and I really enjoyed my chat with him. So enjoy part two of Baxter Maiwald.
Yeah, so because I had organised to go with Remy, like I had all this money saved from working with dirt art. And yeah, I was like ready to go. So I was like, get me over there. I got over there like a week before Lenzerheide. Met up with Remy and his dad Jim, and we stayed in Morzine for a few days. So I got to get comfy on my downhill bike, and then yeah, it was fucking straight into it. They kind of went over that World Cup season, like obviously not expecting much, but just yeah, learning and being thankful for the opportunity that I could still ride my bike at that level. And I just went over with the goal of like qualifying, basically, which I did. I like qualified at every race. I ended up the year after. Actually, no, sorry, we'll get to that later. Yeah, qualified at every race. Didn't do anything spectacular. I think my best result was like a 15th or something, which like I was pretty pumped on. Raced world champs in Val de Sol, which was fucking wild. Like I was just obviously coming off a head injury. Like I shouldn't have been there racing. I should have taken more time to let my brain recover, but I was 17 and ambitious. So yeah, that's where I would recommend people do things a little bit differently to me. But knowing what I know now, I wouldn't have gone overseas. I would have just chilled. But I'm glad I did it. And then yeah, race world champs. By then I like felt like I was riding pretty good, but I just wasn't strong enough. Wasn't physically prepared either. So kind of just like set myself the goal at world champs to just like race to the split. There was a split that was like almost in the exact middle of the track. I was like, I'm just going to race like 100% until there. And then from there, like, I'm just going to fucking survive. And I think I was 11th at the first split. And then I was like 53rd by the time I got to the bottom. So that gave me confidence that like I had, had decent pace. And then I came back from that trip, and I was like, yeah, I was firing. I was like ready to get stuck into the national series.
Yeah, man. So that national series as well, you took the overall, didn't you? And did you win champs as well in that national series when you came back? Was that the year?
Yeah. So whether people had or hadn't, I sort of felt like a lot of people had more or less written me off, I guess. Like after the crash that I had, like I don't blame them. And then obviously I went overseas and I didn't really do anything fantastic. But I was still determined as so. Came back, hung out at home for a little bit, and then went to Threadbow with work. So I was up there with dirt art. And yeah, just like training flat out, riding as much as I could. Obviously, Threadbow is like a rad place to train. It's probably, in my opinion anyway, it's not like the funnest place to just go and do laps, but in terms of like making you a good bike rider, it's fantastic. Got myself a personal trainer up there. Obviously, work is pretty physical when you're on the hand tools, and like, yeah, just kind of went all in. won most of the races, most of the national races. Actually, most of the races I did that year, I won. The first national round was at Awaba, and I was actually in Queenstown at the time. And it was the first race that Troy did for Canyon. And I kind of like was over there for a work trip, and then we just stayed on for a month and just did a holiday in Queenstown. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I'll just miss the first round. But Daryl from Canyon was like absolutely certain that he wanted me at that race. And I was like, look, man, like I like booked this trip before the dates came out. Like I can't afford to fly myself over. And then so he actually ended up flying me from Queenstown to New South Wales for a while, and then flew me back to Queenstown so I could finish my trip because it was like right in the middle of the day.
What a legend.
So, yeah, I was pretty blown away with that. I was like, all right, well, if you want me there bad enough that like you're gonna fly me to and from, like I guess I'll fucking go. And went there. I think I got smoked. Well, I felt like I got smoked. I got like fourth or something. I think that was the only race of the year after that I wasn't on the podium. And even then I was kind of on the pretend podium because I think they did top 5 podium. But and then went back to Queenstown, kind of frustrated that I didn't do good, and just rode flat out for like the last 12 days we were there. We also partied flat out for the last 12 days we were there, but we rode every single day, and I was like making sure that I was riding like the gnarly tracks, not just getting like stuck in doing jump line laps every day. Spent like a few days riding with some like real cool dudes. Like I met Elliot from Giant Factory Racing, who he's like now doing commentating and stuff. Met him over there just in the shuttle line, and like we ended up doing a bunch of laps together, rode with Jacko and all the crew that I was there with, and like that progressed my riding a lot. And then came back from there, first race, like was literally home for like 3 days, and then we went to Thredbo for the second national round, and I'd always done really shit at Thredbo, even though I lived there, and won that race, which was a bit of a surprise to me. And then from there, like I was just confidence ball was rolling, and off we went. I think I either won or was on the podium for the rest of the season. Wrapped up the overall, and then we got to national champs. Had like a fucking sick weekend there, just like doing runs with Troy and stuff. Like I thought being on the YVC team was sick for like the amount of support we got at races, but then when I got to the Canyon team, like we had, I think just because there was less riders on the team, realistically for that whole first year, like I was the only rider on the team. And unless Troy was at a national, like I was the only one in the tent. So like I basically had private mechanic, had everyone that was there was just looking after me. So got to ride with Troy a bunch, which was like a crazy eye opener. He helped me out a bunch. Got to know Aaron, who's mechanic, quite well. So my bike setup got way more dialed in. Like everything was just working, and won the national overall, won national champs. I think I got second at Oceanias. Whatever state rounds I did, I think I won or got on the podium at those. Like it was like the best season I could ask for, pretty much.
Yeah, dude, that's epic, man. Killed it.
Yeah, and it just felt extra good, like after the year that I'd had previous of like having that head injury, and like I said, whether people did or didn't, I felt like people had kind of written me off. So it was sort of like a little bit of proving it to myself that I could still do it, but also like proving it to everyone else that I wasn't done.
Gave you the extra motivation, mate, to get it done.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And once you win a race and then you win another race, then you're like, oh, okay, I know how to do this. And then you just like, then you're on. So, did that. And then once that was all done, we went overseas and did another World Cup season. So how long do you want this?
No, that's it, man. Hey, man, we can go for as long as you want, dude. I'm not doing fucking anything. I
Sweet.
actually wanted to talk to you a fair bit about your racing and stuff because, like, you've fit so much into like your short career life as well, man. You're only in your early 20s. Like when I was
Yeah,
researching this, I actually thought you were older than you actually
yeah,
are, and then when I read into it all, I was just like, holy fuck, man, he's still in his early 20s, and like
yeah,
I first started hearing about you when you and Jack O'Hare were like working for Dirt Art, building Hero Trail and stuff. And that's when I first sort of started paying attention to what you're up to. And then
yeah,
I worked with Jack for a little bit at World Trail as well in the early days when he was just a
yeah,
Grom. And
yeah.
yeah, and just following you and just to see how far you come now. So for the next part that I want to talk about now, that's going to be part one. That's cool. We've sorted it, segued into the next bit. How did you get
Sweet.
involved with Simon, French, and Dirt Art, man? Because you've been a bit of a leading fucking edge for those guys over the years.
Oh well, thanks for the kind words. um, yeah, so I think that was like we're probably gonna jump right back a fair bit for this, but it's kind of just right place at the right time is the short story. But long story was like I said earlier on, just growing up, like we didn't have a skate park in our town. The closest skate park was like a 5K ride, and it was kind of shit. So um, didn't really ride it, but like I just wanted to ride BMX. And like growing up, dad had always we had like 3 acres of bush, so dad had always like be building me, little shitty jumps. And well, I shouldn't say shitty, they were good. I thought they were good at the time anyway. Little jumps around the house and like little corners or whatever it was like. And then yeah, when I got to the age, like there was a couple of little shitty, actually shitty dirt jumps in our local town, just like on the side of the road, and we would just go around and hit those. And then I was like, oh, we could probably make these better. So like we'd try and like, me and my mates would dig those and make them better. And then we found out about this like old dirt jump spot that was like down in the bush, and we went and revived that, like started digging there. And then I was like, oh, I want like my own spot. Like I'd been watching heaps of BMX videos on YouTube and like just seeing all the trails seen in the UK and over in the US and whatnot. And just kind of seeing like how those dudes like build their jumps like super nice and square, and it's almost like a piece of art as much as it is a jump. And like being a super creative kid, I was always into art growing up. That like really appealed to me as well. So found this like plot of land and a couple of mates that were keen, and we just like started digging jumps from when I was like, yeah, like 12 or whatever. We were just like building our own dirt jumps, and we had like a pretty legit trail spot. If anyone's got a spare second, I think you can find it still on Instagram. It's called Greenfield_trails.
Right.
And yeah, we were just like, I just spent all my spare time just digging. Like it was like 10-minute ride from my house. Just go down there, dig. We had like a creek that ran nearby. Like I was like very planned out. Like when I was looking for this spot, I was like, we need water, we need good dirt, it needs to be like not too much vegetation, but it needs to be hidden away. And like me and dad found this spot and started digging there, built that up over like 4 years. And then through that place I mentioned earlier, Long Gully, where we used to go and do downhill shuttles on Thursday nights, I met Jai Motherwell.
Yep.
Met Jai through this guy, Trent Pirabauer, who doesn't race anymore, but he was like probably someone I should have mentioned earlier. He helped me out so much as a Grom. Like he really took me under his wing, and he'd like take me to shuttle days. He'd let me follow him down the downhill track. He'd show me how to, pick lines and all, every like a lot of the shit that I knew that dad couldn't teach me, I learned from him. So through Trent, I met Jai, and then Jai was helping build a lot of the stuff at Long Gully, and I tried to get involved a couple of times, but like because I didn't have my license or nothing, I kind of just couldn't get out there on dig days. And then they had a job it was near Frankston, building a pump track, and it just happened to be after I got back from Europe. We had to do work experience at school, and I like saw on Instagram that Jai was a trail builder, and I kind of hit him up and I was like, hey man, like, do you have any work near me? Like, do you think actually I think I saw Jackson Davis building stuff at Buxton, and then I messaged him to see if I could do work experience, and he was like, nah, but talk to Jai. And I already knew Jai through Trent, so I messaged Jai. They had a job in Frankston. I did work experience with them, and then I suppose they liked what I did. Me and Jai had kind of become mates, hanging out for that 2 weeks of work experience, and then they needed a hand just to finish that job. And Jai called me up and he was like, do you reckon you get another 2 weeks off school and come and help me finish this job? Like, we'll actually pay you properly this time. So I kind of said to mum, I was like, I'm doing it. And yeah, went and helped Jai finish that job off. And then I sort of got speaking to Luke Chu, was one of the managers at the time. And yeah, one thing led to another. I'm not going to tell this story exactly because every time I do, Jai fucking calls me and tells me that I've got it wrong. But off the back of that, one thing led to another, and I found myself that summer. I basically went to Cannonball and kind of like lent a hand a little bit there, just volunteering on the pump track because Remy and I got there early. And then, yeah, they offered me a job in Thredbo, and then we went back for a national round, and I just didn't come home. Stayed up there, worked for the whole summer.
That's sick, man. And it's progressed along, hasn't it? Like you were with Dirt Up for a fair while.
Yeah, I think I was with Dirt Up like on and off. And I say on and off because they were super, like Simon's raced downhill himself. So that's like one of the best things about working for Dirt Art is that, and I guess it probably goes along all trail building companies, but they're just super supportive of kids wanting to do stuff. So like if I needed time off work to go to a race, or if I wanted to take, 3 or 4 months off to go overseas and go racing, like it was never, ever, ever an issue. They were always supportive of me doing that. So yeah, I think it was four years total I worked for Dirt Art. I took a small break in between to go just after our first year at Medina. I took a small break and went home, and I think I was just a bit burnt out from the rush of trying to get that bike park built in time. And then the winter in Tassie was a bit of a shock because I hadn't done a winter for like, I don't know, 3 years or whatever. It was like seven summers in a row. And then the first winter I did back was in fucking Medina. So that that was a bit of a shock to the system.
Yeah, and then, I hear you, man. Like we worked into the winter the first season in Derby, and like, yeah, it's pretty fucking horrendous down there when it turns it on, isn't it?
It's brutal. And then yeah, took a bit of a break, went back home. Thought I was over trail building. Went and worked for like a civil company, just doing like random land care jobs. Like we would do like desilts of those like man-made lakes in housing estates, and like put gates in on the side of the Hume Highway, and like just random shit. And I was just driving a digger / doing whatever they needed me to do for them. And I didn't even last my trial period. It was like 2.5 months, and I called my boss and I was like, "Yeah, this isn't for me." If I was like earning, way better money than I was at Dirt Art on my starting rate and like full time, like I was like, I can't do this. So yeah, then I got a job with Trailscapes because it was actually when they were organising that Haunted Hills project in southeast Victoria. Was when I came on board with them. I did a bit of work at Marysville for a bit, and then was meant to go straight into that project, but it obviously got delayed for a fair while. So I kind of like ended up bouncing around a fair bit to different jobs, which I didn't particularly want to do. But the good thing of that was working with Trailscapes meant that I got to go to Adelaide and meet all of that crew and like get stoked on riding BMX again. And then, one thing led to another. I broke my ankle in Adelaide, spent a bunch of time frustrated not being able to ride because I'd just spent a whole winter at mum and dad's place building a set of trails in the backyard. Got back on the bike for a bit, figured out, what needed changing at the jumps, and then went for a rush trip to Crankworks in Rotorua, and then came back from that and had national champs, and then we went into fucking lockdown. Basically, that was like, and then I was fired up because that was when I got fifth at national champs in Bright on the trail bike. So I just kind of like felt like I'd spent this 2 years or whatever kind of bouncing around different jobs, not really knowing what I wanted to do. Wasn't really racing. I was like rocking up to races, thinking I was there to have fun, but I was like there with a shitty attitude. And then you get smoked, and like getting smoked when you know that you can do better is obviously, that's not very fun. Then whilst we were in lockdown, I just was like, well, fuck, what else do I do? I just went hard digging at mum and dad's place and just like built the backyard into like what I knew it wanted to be. Everything got taller, everything got steeper, everything like got landscaped to the fucking nines. Like,
yeah, I saw photos of all that stuff, man. It looks so sick.
Yeah, and whilst I was doing that, thank you, by the way. Whilst I was doing that, I was just like posting heaps of it on my Instagram, and just posting time lapses and photos, and that like got me a lot of recognition for my trail building, which beforehand I didn't really feel like I had gotten much. People knew I built trails, but I'd always been the dude, behind the digger on the rake or whatever. Like I was shaping up other people's ideas. And then Gary really taught me a lot about driving diggers when I was at Trailscapes, and he gave me a lot of like creative license to sort of run a couple of jobs, like what we built at Cascades in Marysville. Like I was running that job. So I was starting to, get into being a trail builder. But that like lockdown and just building my jumps up, like kind of, I don't know if blew me up is the right like way to put it, but people started noticing a bit more what I was doing. And then that was actually how I ended up back at Dirt Art. So Frenchie called up and he was like, we're going to build, a dirt jump park at Medina. We want you to do it. You've basically got like 3 months and whatever machinery you need. And aside from that, like build something for everyone and go nuts. And I was like, holy fuck, yes, I'm in, sign me up. So yeah, that's how I got back to Dirt Art.
Yeah, man. That build was epic, man. I've yet to see those jumps, but I know a lot of crew have ridden them and just said they're epic. So it's so cool to see like Medina took this whole different creative approach to a bike park design for Australia, brought that sort of European Canadian sort of style to Australia finally. And it's just good to see something. Yeah, and it's just good to see something like that in Australia now, and how far it's progressed as well, man. The place is going nuts.
Yeah, like as I said, the first 6 months or year or whatever we were there, like building the park was pretty full on, but at the same time, it was fucking sick. when you're like in that environment with like a bunch of your mates, like I was living with Jacko and Dan Booker and another mate, Flinders, who we'd all just traveled to Queenstown together, and then I'd traveled Europe with Jacko in the van and one other friend, Triffin. So yeah, you just like dropped into this like crazy environment with a bunch of excavators and your mates, and you get told to like go and build some mountain bike tracks. It's like no experience you'll probably ever get anywhere else. And Frenchie was obviously like super frothy on it all, and it's probably like we built the bike park a bit backwards from maybe what we should have, because we're all so excited. Like, probably should have started with greens and blues and then fit the blacks in around it. But instead, we just dropped in and built like a bunch of sick black trails, and then we're like, oh fuck, how do we fit green trails in now? But yeah, like private bike park, you're just doing like buggy shuttles after work every day, riding like fresh trail that you've just built with your mates. Like, yeah, it was a crazy, crazy experience.
It's so cool, man. It's funny. It's like trail building's but just getting so huge now. There's so many trail businesses out there. And it's funny, I was just listening today at work. Ryan Delarue was on Beyond the Tape with Darren. He was
Yeah,
talking exactly about that. Young guys have this opportunity now to get into trail building. There's so many companies now that are looking for young guys who are frothing, stoked, and want to learn how to build good trail. And I think we're in a
yeah,
pretty awesome time now for young guys like yourself to really learn and excel.
yeah, dude. Like, mountain biking as a sport is blowing up. And as people buy more bikes, the councils see more, or government see more reason in building facilities for us to use, as well as like private bike parks as well. So, yeah, if you ever wanted to get into trail building, like, now's your window, I reckon. I don't think it'll slow down, but, or not anytime soon, but like it definitely will at some point. Yeah, I get asked a lot like how you get into trail building, and it's a question that's, I'm sure I'd like to hear your opinions on this. Like, it's kind of like a hard question to answer, because for me, I was just sort of, like I said, in the right place at the right time. But like nowadays, I feel like if you just follow all of the trail building companies on Instagram or Facebook, and you're like willing to travel to wherever you need to be, like, it's not hard to get into the industry these days.
No, not at all. Like when I got into it, like I said, I was 30 years old, and it was this whole, I was throwing myself in the fucking deep end, to be honest. Like, I was hanging out with like Reese Atkinson and Ryan Delarue, riding with those guys, getting smoked every day out in the trails. And by
You
the
learn,
end of, fuck yeah, I learned a lot. I had learned the hard way, man. But like in that 4.5 years, I was not. By the time I got to the end of my time, I wasn't the guy at the end of the pack on the Arvo rides. I was like mid pack, and I was like, yeah, this is where I want to be. I'm the oldest bloke in the crew, but yet I'm not at the back. So,
often, yeah,
yeah, but it's like, I think for young crew to get into it now is awesome. And I think with these guys that have been around, like Ryan Delarue, Reese Atkinson, and all these older blokes that have been building trails for years, since sort of the beginning of commercial construction, they can teach so much, and they're so
yeah,
willing to teach young crew. They want to hand on that knowledge, to keep it going. And like the opportunities are endless at the moment. And people like Glenn Jacobs and Gary and Frenchie and stuff, those guys are just a fucking well of knowledge, man. And if you're keen to listen, they'll teach you everything, man. It's crazy.
yeah. That's it. I think it's like, you got to, in order to be like a good trail builder, like, you got to be attentive. Like, that's like full stop. And then, like, it doesn't matter whether you're paying attention to what you're doing and what works and doesn't work, and like figuring out processes that, can make you more efficient whilst not dragging down your quality. You also have to pay attention to the way that everybody else does things, and like take bits and pieces from, you see someone do things one way, and like you might disagree with it, but you can still learn something from the way that they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Just, yeah, always listening, always learning, always like put your ego in the fucking bin, and just listen and learn. Like, you can build as much trail as you want with your buddies out on the weekends, and like you can have the nicest looking jumps ever, but you get to a commercial environment, and like a square edge on a fucking lip doesn't mean shit if it's going to fall over.
Exactly right, dude. And this is the other thing, like trail building isn't easy, man. So like I think that's where a lot of these young guys fall flat. They come into like World Trail Dirt Art stuff, think, oh, it's gonna be sick, we're gonna build all day, we're gonna be riding jumps all fucking day. And then they get to the end of their first week and they're cooked, and they're
Yeah,
like, oh, what are we doing? This isn't as fun as I thought. And they have that 3-month honeymoon period, and then it's like they're either
and
gonna
then,
stick it out or they're not. You can sort of
yeah,
tell.
it's like, yeah, don't I think people expect it to be this, like, it's, at the end of the day, it's a job. You're in like you're in a, realistically, you're like in a construction business, it's a job. You gotta get up early. You gotta go out there no matter what the weather is. You gotta fucking lift rocks all day. You gotta rake gravel or like run a whack pack, whatever it is. Like, it's not glamorous work, but the results are worth it.
Yep. Yeah, and it's something again that Ryan spoke about as well. It's like you're not building a house and then handing over the keys. You're building something that you can go and enjoy whenever you fucking want as well, and you know a lot of people are going to enjoy it as well. So
yeah, that's like that is by far the most rewarding bit of like we spent in Medina, we spent like a good month and a half in winter, like just doing the shittest fucking jobs ever. Like once you've worked in Medina in winter, like everywhere else is like being on a holiday in Hawaii or something. Like it's just like absolutely not glamorous at all. You're just like ankle deep in mud all the time. Everything's wet. Like it's cold as fuck. You're probably getting snowed on. But then when it gets to spring or summertime and like you see the people come to the park and they're riding like this fresh trail that you've just built and you can hear them fucking yahooing from, 300 meters away through the bush. Like that's what's worth it. I remember like sitting at the bottom of this new trail that they just built called Dirt Surfer, which I'm not taking any credit for building it. I only built like maybe 100 meters and put a pipe in with Booker. But first day that opened, me and Booker were like just putting up some signage at the bottom of it. And it's only a green trail. Like for us, like it's not that exciting to ride. Like it's kind of fun, but it's not that exciting. And you sort of get a bit bummed out sometimes when you're building green trail because it's not, it's not what you want to be building. But when we heard this group of like 4 dudes from miles away, like we could hear them coming, just yelling and yahooing and like having the best fucking time. And then they rode past us and they were just like grinning ear to ear, just loving it. Me and Booker just like looked at each other and were like, that's what this is about. Like that's why we do this shit.
Absolutely, man. I could not agree more, man. With that, we've built, a lot of Derby was pretty tough going, especially trying to build green trails in that terrain was pretty tough. But when we opened it up and we're riding with people, everyone was just so stoked about it. And we just knew we were onto something down there. It was a bit sketchy at the start.
Yeah, I don't get up there nearly as much as I should. Every time I do, I'm like, I should come here more often.
Dude, I haven't been down in a few years now. So, I'm trying to get down there this summer to go riding and hit Medina as well. So, to finish up, dude, we're getting through it. It's been some good fucking stories. 2 hours is usually what I go for. So I can split it into 2 episodes, but I've just got a couple of quick ones. One I want to talk about because animals are rad. Tell us about your dog. Because you see Nala in heaps of photos, man, and sick trail dog, man. How does your dog go out in the trails? Love it.
I'm just trying to just hold up one sec. Have I got any? I made some stickers of her.
No way.
Might have to cut this bit. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah, nice.
It's a Motorhead logo, but with Nala. Nala's rad. I'm not going to get into it, but there's a bit of a long story as to how I ended up with her. When I was in Medina the first time, me and my girlfriend at the time got her together. Thought it was a great idea, and pretty much split her 50-50, paid everything 50-50 down the middle. So as you can imagine, when we split up, that wasn't like the easiest thing to navigate. No. But I'm fucking so thankful that I ended up with her in the end. She's the best. She's like full of character. She's loves coming riding. Like, people told me when I got a Kelpie, they were like, you're going to have your hands full. Like, they're just so energetic. And my answer always was like, well, so am I. Like, I got an energetic dog because I live an energetic, like, full on lifestyle. Like, I want her to be able to come everywhere with me. And to be honest, man, for a Kelpie, she's lazy as fuck. She's like, yeah, she always surprises people. She's the most chilled out dog ever. Like, she'll have 5 minutes of, full body wiggle, like bum wagging, carrying on when she meets someone, just like full stoked. And then once that's over, she's like, all right, cool. If you're not going to throw the stick, I'm just probably going to go and hang out over here and sleep or something.
Awesome,
but yeah, she loves coming trail riding. I've taken her on some pretty big rides to date. And the first time I took her properly riding where she could like actually keep up, I thought she'd hurt her paw because she was behind me and she was just like carrying on, like kind of like whining and just, making a ruckus. And I stopped and I realized that she wasn't whining. She was actually like it was almost like she was laughing and yahooing. Like she was just full ears pricked up, tongue hanging out, just like,
Frothing.
So yeah, she's the fucking best. She's awesome.
Yeah, that's so good, man. I love hearing good trail dog stories, man. Like a lot of people out here right around beauty and stuff, like they love having their trail dogs. We got lots of kangaroos, especially around the golf course. And a massive issue is like the dogs just take off chasing kangaroos across golf course. And they're like, fuck, I love my trail dog, but man, you can't get past the first 100 meters from the car park without the dog taking off to chase roos. It's like,
yeah, she's been pretty good. Like I put when we got her, it was winter in Medina, so kind of didn't really have much else to do but like sit in the living room and train my dog. And I was determined not, like I knew that she was going to come everywhere with me, so I was like determined not to be that guy with the shit dog. So I put a lot of effort into training her when she was a puppy and like still do. Like people ask me how long it took to train my dog and I'm like, well, she's 3 years old, so far 3 years. Like it's a constant thing. But yeah, I've been real lucky with her. If there's a bike around, like does not fucking matter what else is going on. She is like into the bike. She's all in on chasing that bike.
That's so sick.
Yeah, it makes it handy for when you're going riding. Like you don't have to worry about it, chasing wallabies or kangaroos or rabbits or whatever. Like she's just frothing on the bike.
Trail dog through and through, man. All right, so lucky last. This is something that I saw pop up on your Instagram and I looked into a bit more. The Crush Oz Grassroots Scholarship with Carolyn Buchanan, that stuff that you were doing. So it was supposed to happen at Sea Otter, but of course with everything going on in the world, Sea Otter's being postponed, but they're still continuing on with it for 2022. Tell us a bit about that, man. What does that involve? I know Shannon Rademacher as well is involved from All Terrain Cycles too. I was reading. So what's all is about that?
So as far as I'm aware, we're just like sticking with the same program we're going to do this year, but it's obviously just delayed until whenever Sea Otter happens. Mm-hmm. And Matt pretty much just called me up one time and he was like, hey mate, like I'm going to put together this thing, like do you want to be involved? So with Caroline, we're basically getting a bunch of sponsors on board. Off the top of my head right now, I can't name them all, but like there's a rad bunch of sponsors. Shannon's one of them. I know Fist is one of them. Obviously you get Crush support and a few others here and there. I think Pushies are one of them as well. And it's basically just like a scholarship package to help kickstart people for their racing series or racing year or whatever, however you want to use it basically. So you get access to like some cash, which will help you get to the races. You get a little bit of product. You get discounts on a bunch of product. You get access to both myself and Caroline as your mentor. So if you've got any questions whatsoever, like just hit us up anytime. I was trying to organize so there's a male and a female winner. I was trying to organize for the winners to come down to Medina and just have like a weekend riding with me so that we can actually do some practical stuff. And I believe Caroline was going to do something similar. So yeah, it's just like a way for us to kind of give back to kids that don't have, that potentially aren't on a team, or can't really afford to get to the races that they want to do, but are showing potential. And it's just like a good way to give back to the riding community that's given us so much.
Dude, it's so awesome, man. When I read about it the first time, it's just, I love it when a whole bunch of Australian companies get together and put this sort of shit together. So to help kids out, to get them to races, man, is like super important for, future champions, man. We've got so many amazing young riders, and a lot of them don't get the opportunity to actually have a crack. So I think it's pretty rad, man, what you guys are doing, and I hope it all works out well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so sorry, I'm not totally over it at the moment. It's kind of not been at the forefront of my brain, but if you do want to read any more about it, there's probably still links on the Crush socials, so you can go and find out some more about it there. And just on the topic of helping people, if you haven't seen it already, you should go onto the WRP Women's Racing Products Instagram page. And if you're a privateer and you need a bit of help, sign yourself up for his privateer program, because he's just put together something fucking rad to help people with some parts and stuff.
Cool. Yeah, you heard that? You heard it here. If you want that, do it.
Yeah.
Sick, man.
Sure.
Well, I suppose for the very, very last thing, it's the question I ask everyone at the end of every podcast. What's next for you, my man? What are your plans?
Right now, I'm training for national champs next year. Trying to have a crack at that. I'm probably going to do a few enduros over summer. And I'm in the lucky position with Fist and Fox and Canyon and a few other sponsors that I've got a bunch of video projects on the go. So trying to organize, one with a big one, Fox and Canyon at the moment. We've got a shoe launch video for Etnies. Got a big project, another big project with Fist coming up. So just trying to do a bunch of video projects, use my time not being at work to organize that kind of stuff, and make sure my riding's on point and I'm fit and strong and healthy for whenever those days come around. So
that's sick, man. You're a busy man. That's awesome.
Try and fill my days up with as much as I can.
Yeah, dude. All right, man. So where can people find you to follow along if they aren't already?
I keep it pretty simple. It's just at Baxter_Maiwald on Instagram, and that's it.
Instagram is the way to go.
I have Baxter Maiwald Racing page on Facebook, which has been probably inactive for like 4 years. So it's pretty much just Instagram, man. I just put everything on there.
Yeah, it's the way to go. I reckon Instagram's just the easiest, isn't it?
Yeah, I try and spend as little time on my phone as I can these days. So if I only have one platform to look after, it's a lot easier on me.
Yeah. Well, you can find me at the TSG Bikecast on Instagram and on YouTube, where you'll see our beautiful faces, if I haven't fucked up this recording, at That Stoked Guy. Thanks so much for taking some time to hang out, man. It's been wanting to chat to you for a while, and it's sick. We'll do it again sometime.
Yeah, man. Thanks heaps for having me. I appreciate it. I've seen you around on Instagram for a while, so it's good to sit down and have a chat.
Yeah, thanks, dude. Really appreciate it. Oh, and till next time, good luck with everything.
Brad, dude. Thank you. Likewise.
So that's it. Thanks so much for tuning in to my chat with Baxter. For such a young dude of 22 years of age, he's fit a lot into his life. So again, thanks to Baxter for taking the time out of his busy schedule to sit down and have a yarn with me. So if you want to follow Baxter, like he said, it's Baxter_Maiwald on the Instagrams, and you can follow me at the TSG Bikecast on Instagram. So that's it for another week, and we'll see you next time. I love you all. See you out in the trails.